Tau is the only open source cloud computing platform that was built for developers. The developer is always in our mind, and we try very, very hard to keep it very developer friendly. And there was one thing that wasn't there, and that's deploying Tau itself. So if you look on our GitHub, you can see that you need to install Tau with curl, or you can download it yourself and then generate a config and then start it. And eventually, if you really look at the documentation, you also need to set it up as a service. You need to install some dependencies. For example, if your node is doing CI/CD, you need to have Docker installed. All of that is gone now. I'm really thrilled to announce Spore Drive. Spore Drive is a tool that makes it very easy to deploy Tau on hundreds and thousands of nodes just using code. And I'm gonna walk you through it, and then you'll see how easy and awesome it is. Okay, here on my VS Code, I have a little project that is meant to deploy Tau on some droplets or VMs that I have on DigitalOcean. I mean, obviously, you can use Tau and Spore Drive as well to deploy on bare metal, even Raspberry Pis if that's what you wish to do. Let me go through the code here, and I'll focus on the core of the code. So Spore Drive requires you to have a config. That config could be in memory. It could be on a zip that you just upload when you're working on it, for example, or a tarball. Or it could be on local file system, which is the case here for me, because I want the changes to my config or deployment config to be represented in a Git repo. You initialize your config, and then you create or update. So create here for me will create a config or update it. If you're working only on memory, you will always recreate the config. And then you create a drive. So here I'm giving it the config, which is required. And then you can provide it with a version of Tau. You can say Tau version and then provide the version. You can say latest. You can also give it a binary if it's a local build that you have of Tau. And then you create a plot. Here I'm saying create a plot that deploys on all the hosts that have the shape all configured. And the shape is basically a group of services. So here for all, it's basically all the services running except gateway. And then you do course displace that starts the deployment process. So displace is just a reference to Spore Drive from Star Trek, but it really does the deployment. And then display progress is a wrapper that I created around course.progress, which is it's a stream of progress that is sent to you. And I created a wrapper that displays the progress bars. And finally, I do update my DNS records for this project. The domain name is pom.ac, and I'm updating it on Namecheap. But that has nothing to do with Spore Drive, though. You can see how easy it is to integrate different things with Spore Drive and make deploying Tau a breeze here. So let me go to my create config real quick here. So it takes config, which is an object, and you can edit your config here. So I'm setting up the FQDN, the generated domain, and then if the domain keys are not there, I generate them. If the swarm key is not there, I generate it. And then I configure authentication here for SSH. Just to keep it simple, I'm using a password here, which is passed through environment variables. Then I create my shape. Like I said earlier, the name is all, and then it's all the services that Tau supports as of today, except gateway, that are listed here. Configure the ports. Here, I'm grabbing droplets from DigitalOcean using dots, which is their API client, and making sure the hosts are in my config. That's it. I commit, that saves it to memory if it's in memory, save it to disk if it's in disk. If it's in memory, you can also download the config as well afterward as a zip file or a tarball. And then that's it. So let's run it and then see how all of that goes. So npm run display. After a minute or two, the deployment is done. Dependencies were installed, and DAO should be up and running. Let's check that out. So I'm gonna clear the screen, and we're gonna do a curl and just check the headers. Okay, this working means that DNS resolution worked for seer.tau.pom.ac. It means that it was able to get a certificate from Let's Encrypt automatically, and it means that it's working. Off screen, went ahead and created a serverless function on my newly created cloud. Let's check it out. Everything works, so a DNS resolution should be working. It should be able to get a SSL certificate and execute the function ping, which actually just returns pong. There we go. You can see here it was able to get the SSL certificate. It was able to connect and read the response, which is pong. Our cloud is up and running, that easy, just with code.